Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is GameSmall and today we are talking about the best starting zone for your new world character and of course when to move your whole stuff from one city to another. And to know actually what are the starting areas, we have to take a look on the map. So how do you find out which area is a starting area and which one isn't? Well, the answer is pretty simple actually. You just look for this little icon here, which is a so-called watchtower. And every area who has a watchtower is also a starting area. Pretty simple, huh? Or if you can remember numbers, let's be honest here, I never can, but there are 4 starting areas in total. Monarch's Bluff, Everfall, Windsward, and First Light. There's the watchtower down here if you're looking for it. And those are the 4 starting areas. Cutlass Keys is not a starting area. I have seen some people who basically did run immediately to Cutlass Keys village and wanted to do the starting area there. This is a somewhat high-end area. Don't do that, you get murdered. Not a starting area, leave it alone. But which starting area is the right thing for you? Well, there's a little caveat to all of this. You cannot choose your starting area in New World. It's completely random and that sucks, especially if you want to play with a friend. What actually happened to me is a buddy of mine started in Everfall and I was unlucky enough to start it in First Light. And what I did was pretty simple. I created a new character and I was just lucky to end up in his starting area now, or at least I hope to start in his vicinity. But unfortunately, you cannot choose your starting area. But as I said, there are good starting areas and there are bad starting areas. How do I determine that? Well, it's not the quest, because most of the quests are actually the same in the starting areas and it doesn't really make a difference. The real difference is the resource locations. You can click on this, right, if you have never done this, and then you can see where you get like certain starting area resources. Like, this is interesting, the Highland, which is this area I'm residing in right now, is really good if you want to go for iron. Does that mean you will never find any iron in the forest? No, there's actually some chance that you find some iron now and then in the forest, but you really want to go for the Highland. And as you can see here, with Monarch's Bluff, I have the settlement right here, there's the Highland, and I can start immediately to go for the iron or for the silver I need to search for. And so it really depends on what do you want to do for crafting. Are you somebody who needs a lot of metal? Well, then you want to go into an area where there is an easily accessible highland, which would be Monarch's Bluff and Windsward, because this is another area where you can just go to and then you can get your iron from it. The shittiest area to actually start out with, if you want to work with iron and metal in general, is First Light. Not because they don't have any iron here, like this is the iron where it is, but as you can already see, this is a long way, and it gets even shittier because this is on top of a mountain. So you have to run this whole way up here, up the mountain again. There is a shortcut right here. The game is not showing you that, but believe me, it is there. And then you can jump down here, and then you are finally getting into the area where you can get the iron. Most people will take the long way around, which makes it even shittier. So again, this area is not great in general. There's not really anything there which helps you. And I really mean that. Like, yeah, you have some forest here, but let's be honest here, you get that everywhere. Like, wood is never an issue in no matter which area you have to go to. And even when it comes to hemp and the fiber you need, yes, they have a little area right here, but it is not big enough. Like, the moment you have 2 or 3 people actually looking for hemp in this specific area, you will run out of resources. First Light, in my honest opinion, and from what I have gathered by just doing all of the starting areas with crafting, this is the shittiest area to start with. It takes far too long to get somewhere, and you don't even have enough resources to sustain more than 2 or 3 people. And it's an MMO, and you will have more than 2 or 3 people to start out with. So if you are ending up in First Light, immediately create another character or go somewhere else. I mean it. It is not a great area to start in. The same goes a little bit with Everfall, I unfortunately have to say. Everfall is a mixed bag. Everfall is kind of weird because, as you can see here, if you want to go for the highland, yeah, you have some highland immediately here, right? In this area, in this area, in this area, but it's all not a lot. So you're moving from one area to the next to actually find your iron. It's not impossible. It's not that I would immediately recommend to change the vicinity, to change the area, but it's not the greatest. But the one thing you will notice immediately here, right, is, where's the grassland? Yeah, there's some grassland here, but this is mostly cities, so don't even try it. And you have to go south. Like, if you were starting in this settlement, you have to go south here and hopefully find the hemp there. So then, of course, that begs the question, should you just move the settlement immediately to Windsward, right? And it's really up to you. I didn't find it too problematic. I think it was still alright. But the best two starting areas for me is Windsward and Monarch's Bluff. For Monarch's Bluff, I have to add this. Again, if you're going for the grassland and you really need a lot of hemp, you have to go into this area anyways. And that begs again the question, why not moving to Windsward anyways? So if you need iron and hemp, Windsward it is. If you're somebody who mostly works with iron and leather and wood, then it is Monarch's Bluff. Oh yeah, talking about leather. Well, you haven't really seen me talking about that. And the answer is, you find leather everywhere. You find leather everywhere. Like, you have your wolves, your venison. Of course, in this area, you will find a lot of bisons, but you need to be around level 15, 16 to really hunt them efficiently, and they give you tons of food, tons of leather. So yes, at around level 16, if you need leather, Windsward is definitely your area to go to. But keep in mind, there are not a lot of bisons running around, and a lot of people want to hunt them. So keep that in mind. But TLDR, Monarch's Bluff, when you really want to work with wood, leather, and iron, and Windsward, if you want to work with hemp, a little bit of iron here and there, and a lot of leather. And of course wood. Like, again, wood is not really something I have to mention because wood is everywhere. Like, it's really not a problem. So those are the best two starting areas. Everfall is okay. It's so-so. And First Light, get the hell out. I mean it. Get out of there immediately. So now is of course the question, when do I move my whole equipment and my whole base from one city to the next? That is the question, right? And the answer is, thankfully, you have to wait quite a long time for that. Like, all those areas are designed to sustain your crafting ability till around level 100. And that's exactly what you want to reach. You want to reach crafting 100 before you move your stuff into, let's say, Brightwood. Why? Because Brightwood is a 100 crafting area. So all the stuff you start to craft there needs a 100 farming skill. You want the star metal? Well, it's full of star metal, but you need 100 to do so. A same goes for the wood, and of course, not the hemp, I always forget what it is. The next higher level of hemp, I always forget the name of it. But again, if you think about moving your city and your recall point to a new city, and you have decided which one it is, make sure that your farming capabilities are at 100. Especially, keep one thing in mind. You can access the bank accounts from a different city. So let's say you are in Everfall and you actually want to get some resources from Windsward, you can totally do that at the bank. It costs you money, and your faction has to have the control over both cities to do so. Keep that in mind. That's a very important factor. Like, if I have items in First Light, I cannot just go to my city and try to access them because this is not owned by my city and I cannot do that. But you can do that if you're going into your city, and instead of just talking about it, let's teleport back very quickly and let me show you that in the meantime. But again, as I said before, you want to reach around level 100, not so much for skinning. Skinning doesn't matter, the same goes for wood cutting. Like, you will still have enough resources in even the 100 areas where you don't need 100 resource collecting for wood cutting or for skinning. You don't need that. But let me show you very quickly what I meant with the storage and with moving things around. As you can see here with the storage location, you can choose the different cities you have under control. And if you would have something in Everfall or Brightwood, you can just move between them. You can also see there is the first light, and I have some resources in here, so you can see I can access them. But as you can see, withdrawing requires both territories to be in your faction's control. So unfortunately I can see the items, but because my faction is not owning First Light, I cannot withdraw anything. So that is something to keep in mind. And as I said, it costs money, and the more you withdraw, the more it costs. So if you just withdraw one item, it doesn't really cost you something. If you try to withdraw 40 items, no matter what it is, it will cost you much, much more. So yeah, at some point you really want to move all your stuff over to a new city. And as I said, the big decision will be, how far are you in crafting? And the answer is 100. You want to reach that before you move on to the next areas. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to click on the like button if you're on your way out. I would appreciate that. If you didn't like this video for whatever reason, you can of course click on the dislike button. It's right next there. And if you're new to the channel, you want to see more New World videos, reaction videos, gaming news, and more tips and tricks for all the other MMOs and RPGs I'm playing, you came to the right spot, and I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a ton. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I see you next time. Stay safe. Bye bye.